Hello again everyone, James Shotwell here, and today we're going to talk about the Pareto Principle, otherwise known as the 80-20 rule, and how it can help you be more successful and more productive in your music career. Named after the Italian economist that first developed the idea, the Pareto Principle, or as I'll call it in this video, the 80-20 rule, states that in any situation, 20% of the input or activities is responsible for 80% of the results. Now there are many examples of the 80-20 rule in action. Generally speaking, 20% of the pages in any given book contain 80% of the story. Most people wear 20% of their clothes 80% of the time, while everything else just sits in their closet waiting for use. In the world of YouTube, on most channels, 20% of the videos account for 80% of the total views. And that's true for us. Some of our videos do thousands of views, while others do a few hundred. That's just the way that things work out. Now, the 80-20 rule appears again and again in almost every field, including the music business. Think about the typical album. If you have 10 tracks, more than likely only 1 or 2, maybe 3 are going to become hits. The rest are just filler tracks. Not saying that they aren't good, but they don't perform nearly as well as those standout tracks. And when you look at an artist's career in full, especially if you look at their Spotify stats, you'll see that only a few songs really stand out from the pack, while the rest kind of generate a decent amount of buzz, but they don't really become hits. If you look at social media marketing, the same holds true. An artist might post on Instagram 10 times per week, but only a couple of those posts are going to generate significant engagement. The rest of them are largely just filler. They're there to keep you aware of that the artist exists and that they're active on the platform, but they aren't really moving the needle in any significant way. Now, when we study the 80-20 rule, we have to first understand that the inverse is also true. If 20% of the work gives us 80% of the results, that means that 80% of our work is only giving us 20% of the results. And by studying how our work performs, we can hopefully make better, higher quality work that makes us work less for better results. And I know that that might seem counterintuitive to some of you because we've all basically been programmed to think that you have to be working all the time in order to be productive, but the 80-20 rule teaches us that that is not true. After all, we all have the same amount of time every single day, but there's no debate that we don't all have the same level of productivity. Most of us just keep ourselves busy. We sit on our computer, we scroll the timelines, we post things that don't really get any engagement, or we write songs that never really go anywhere, and we're telling ourselves that we're doing a lot, but really we're just being busy. We're not being productive. And in this case, I mean productivity by it's moving the needle for us in some way. It's gaining us more fans, it's raising our engagement and raising our follower count, it's doing something that's going to benefit our career in the long run. So when it comes to songwriting or social media marketing, in both instances, the key here is looking at the data. What it is that people respond to in your music and in your marketing. When it comes to your songs, you can see what tracks are getting the most streams. You can see what parts of the album people are gravitating towards. And then you can take that and dig deeper. You can look at the song structures. You can look at the themes. You can look at the lyrics. You can look at every element of the song and try to identify what it is that makes that song click with people. It's probably the same thing that attracted you to the song in the first place. As a creator, you always know when something just feels right. And maybe your audience doesn't connect with it 100% of the time, but there is this feeling when you stumble upon a moment of genius, when your brain just catches on fire and you're like, I've got it. I've figured out the best way to express this thought. And if you're working on a song that isn't giving you that feeling, maybe there needs to come a time when you toss that song idea to the side or you put it on the shelf for a little while. You could spend 10 hours working on a song that doesn't go anywhere and then write the next big hit in 5 minutes. Just because you spend a lot of time on something doesn't mean it's going to produce the results that you want. In fact, that's where the 80% comes in. You're doing a whole lot of work for something that's not going to give you a big return. When those moments of genius often come very quickly, give you a whole bunch of greatness all at once, and then produce a giant result for your career. So it's all about figuring out what it is that your audience wants and then doubling down on it. Now that isn't the same as sacrificing your creativity. You can do whatever you want, but smart artists learn from their past behaviors, see what the consumers actually want, and then give them more of that while still pursuing their own creativity. And the same idea holds true for social media marketing. Find what kind of content your fans actually like. Because you could post all day and not get any comments and any likes or any new followers just to be filling space online, but ultimately that's just a waste of time for you. That's more of that 80%. You need to find the very, very small amount of stuff that people are engaging with in a high volume and then give them more of that. Maybe it's song teasers. Maybe it's allowing your fans to ask you questions on Instagram stories. Figure out what your most engaged content is and then try to find ways to give people more of that. So you don't have to post as much, you just have to post more of the high quality stuff that people want. Don't just give them your time, give them what they actually want, the content that they're looking for. That's the way to get ahead. And while we're on the topic of fans, the 80-20 rule appears here as well. 20% of your audience is the most engaged. These are the listeners who are going to come to every show they possibly can. They're going to tell their friends about you. They're going to spend as much money as they can afford to support your music. The other 80%, while important, are more passive. They're going to listen to your music on streaming services. They may catch you at a festival. They may see you live, but they're not going to go out of their way to make sure that your career thrives. That's just that 20%. So you need to focus on making those people happy. You need to be engaging with them regularly. You need to be listening to their wants and their needs and trying to service those as best as possible without sacrificing your own happiness and your own creative fulfillment. The key here, hopefully, is that in time, as we study what people are engaging with and make content that better caters to the things that are doing the most good for us, we can work less, we can busy ourselves less, and do more of the things that we love, because ultimately, what we love typically ends up being what our audience loves. So it's not about working for 8 hours a day or spending 2 weeks writing a song. It's about finding a way to hone our skills to such an extent that those moments of genius come quicker and more often, and that we recognize them, utilize them when they happen, and don't frustrate ourselves trying to force things that just don't work out the way that we want them to. Now, there are a lot of other principles to business that I think can be applied to the music business. I mean, we recently talked about the 1,000 fan theory, and if you haven't watched that video yet, I highly suggest you go back and check it out. But we're going to be covering even more topics in the coming weeks. So if you haven't done so already, please click the subscribe button down below. We have a growing audience here, and trust me, we're trying to engage that 20% as much as we hope that you're engaging your 20%. And we're going to talk to you about other business principles and how you can get ahead in the industry, as well as emerging trends, news, and a lot more. So click that button below, and if you've already done so, thank you for watching this far. I hope you have a wonderful week. I'll be back soon, and until then, take care of yourself, because you deserve it.